My dad always hunted, and up there you have to be 12 years old to hunt. So I was always wanting to hunt and wanting to hunt, and when I got of age, he started taking me hunting on the weekends, and I shot my first buck. I was a little 4 point with the recurve bow. I was 12 years old, and we kind of stocked up on it, and that was my first bow kill. I think that was in 1980. Yeah, 1980.
All right. Episode 135 of the Bryant Land Show brings us another guest. We are happy to have Mr. JP Miller, who I met. This is the first time that I've actually get a chance to talk to him, but I've known about him from years through the Miller Hunt Club. He is Antonio Marsh. I am AB3, and welcome Mr. JP Miller to the Bryant Land Show.
Thank you.
JP.
So, like I said, for the last few years, I've heard so much about you, and I think it's fair to say that you helped make Antonio the hunter that he is. He was kind of like a little wayward soul, and then he got into the Miller Hunt Club, and everything just took off from there.
Yeah, I mean, we always tried to help everybody the best we could that, join the club. And, Antonio was new to it, and we wanted to get him on some good deer. And club had good deer. I mean, not northern big giant Ohio whitetails, but for around here, it had nice deer on it.
Yeah, for South Carolina, what we grow in South Carolina, y'all definitely had some great deer. There's one of them right there, sitting behind him. So now,
Mhm.
as for you, did you grow up hunting in South Carolina, or like where did your hunting roots start?
I was born in a town called Greensburg, Pennsylvania,
Okay.
and my dad always hunted, and up there you have to be 12 years old to hunt. So I was always wanting to hunt and wanting to hunt, and when I got of age, he started taking me hunting on the weekends, and I shot my first buck. I was a little 4 point with the recurve bow. I was 12 years old, and we kind of stocked up on it, and that was my first bow kill. I think that was in 1980. Yeah, 1980.
Wow. So, okay, so a couple of things just right there. One, you spot and stalk with a recurve. That's impressive.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Especially like as spooky as deer are, to spot and stalk and then be able to take one with a recurve. That is impressive. But so you can't hunt until you 12. So like you can't even go like, so as a little one, like can you go out in the field and then you just can't officially hunt until you're 12? Like how does that work? I've never heard that.
Yeah, I remember growing up. We'd go hunting with our dad on bird hunts, like dove or something.
Hmm.
Not deer hunts, but you have to take a hunter safety course. And like I said, this is back, I think in '79 when I took the hunter safety course right before I turned 12. And then,
Yep.
yes, you can't officially hunt until you're 12 years old. Now, I don't know. They may have changed the rules since then. It's been a long time, but so,
Wow.
yeah.
79. Man, been hunting a long time.
Oh, yeah. Always
Hey,
enjoyed it.
and that's how you get that's how you get good at it. Had you seen um a lot of like what I call late onset adult hunters like coming through as far as like just helping them out, either whether it be through the club or just in general?
Yeah, we've, here and there you see some, and, guys that I tell you, like, my dad worked for Westinghouse up in Pennsylvania, and he got transferred down to the Westinghouse down here in South Carolina.
Okay.
So, I think I was 17 at the time. So I had 5 good years of hunting up there and learning how to hunt the deer and everything. And when we come down here, it was like reset. The deer weren't the
Yeah.
same animal, we could say. Up home they they run deer trails, and We were hunting farms with big cornfields, and down here, we had to hunt public land, and so you had to really work hard to find the deer, and there was no baiting or because you couldn't bait up in Pennsylvania, but down here you could, but public land you can't. So
Right.
so you had to go back to old school, and then let's see. So it was a shift in how I had to learn to hunt. Had very unsuccessful years the first few years, and then my kids came along, and hunting kind of was very minimal on their early ages.
Hmm.
And then once they got a little older, I started hunting Fort Jackson, and Fort Jackson's the same as like hunting public. And Tony can tell there's no baiting, there's no nothing. You got to learn the deer. Um, the trails, you got to find them. Now, when I started hunting Fort Jackson back in the '90s, you could sit and see 50 deer in a sitting.
Mm. Okay.
I mean, there was a lot of deer. You just had to know the right areas to go because it's a big installation. 50 some thousand acres, and you could probably hunt 48,000 acres of it. And they had deer stands set up and areas you could check out, and that's the first time I ever seen a deer that I said I'm going to hunt that particular deer. And I have him hang on my wall over my mantle. It's a beautiful 190-pound 10 point. And I seen him the first day of the season. I got done hunting, and I was like, it's hot. It's 100 degrees out, and it's like 9:30 in the morning. I'm walking out, and a deer walked right in front of me. About 15 yards, walked to one of the fire breaks right out in front of me. And I
Wow.
watched him go by because when you come out of the stand there, your rifle's got to be unloaded.
Yep.
Can't shoot on the ground. And I just watched him walk on by, and I hunted that deer a lot. I mean, put a lot of time in, trying to find him where his bedding was and where his routine was. But the one thing I find about South Carolina deers, they don't have too much in a routine. They can come from 360 degrees on it at any given moment.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I'm starting to learn that
Yeah,
too, learning just getting to hunt South Carolina and trying to pattern deer more in South Carolina. It seems like, especially if you're hunting in an area like if you're in hardwoods or pines, like there's no agriculture around, like
yeah,
there's no way to get them going either to a cornfield or soybean field or whatnot. Like you guys had growing up in Pennsylvania,
right.
it can be really tough. And so, Antonio, you was saying that the like I know you sent me like how some of the regulations and stuff change on Fort Jackson. It sound like you got a guide right here that can get you going on Fort Jackson.
I I can get myself going on Fort Jackson. You got to remember that is an expert. That's expert level. You talking over there, okay? So, yeah. That's why I want to send you that reg today. And the reason why I sent you that just to show you a little bit of the difference of SCDNR. Well, some of it's similar, but Fort Jackson has a couple of different things on there that you got to follow, like being careful walking into certain containment areas. Like I told you before, like I walked there and the sign said impact area.
Hmm.
It's just different things you got to look for. Concepts are almost no, were pretty much the same. Difference is at that Miller Swamp. Like you said, feeders and cameras where
Yep.
Fort Jackson is going to teach me to be more of a traditional hunter, which is what probably where I should have started first before I went out to the hunt club. Now, don't get me wrong, the hunt club that was a phenomenal place to hunt, and it still irks me to this day that we're not hunting out there anymore
Oh yeah, me
because
too.
yeah, because I'm gonna tell you, and I'm gonna go back to something you said. You asked me earlier about new hunters. Um, one of the big things, I do appreciate JP when we first started because I was a grown man getting into hunting. I didn't know anything, so going to that first hunt club meeting was like a fish out of water. Just listening to the talk, the terminology.
Yep.
What time to get in, how to get in, parking, car, walking in, be careful when you're walking in. It was just that was a whole new world for me. But what I appreciated, no matter how many times I might have probably came with 50 questions, never one time did he give me the impression that I was bothering him. It was like, if you got a question, ask me so we can get you straight and get you going.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's awesome. Because like you said, that club, the couple times that I've visited just as a guest, like the way it was laid out, like with the swamps and like the terrain and whatnot, it was magnificent. And but things happen. Obviously, people come in, timber companies, all kind of stuff, and it's unfortunate. It's one of the things that people are going through. A lot of people actually are going through now is just trying to find like places to hunt, whether it's public land, the big thing with the public land sale that almost went through, and then, with timber companies taking, timberland almost right from up under like clubs. Like, so it makes it harder to try to find places to hunt.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and they're also developing a lot around here too. So you see big tracts being sold to developers now throughout everywhere, and so hunters around here, or probably anywhere you can see, there's less land and less land to hunt as every year goes by. So
Yeah. And then so like going back, so you started like in Pennsylvania and then you moved here and then you said like there was a learning curve. How,
mhm.
when you moved here, did you stick with the recurve or like do you like hunting with different weapons? Do you have like a favorite? Like what's your weapon of choice, I would say?
I love to hunt with my bow. I we were like everybody else. The first couple of years it was the recurve, and I think time I was 14, we got our first bear archery compound bows.
Yep.
We never killed nothing
Mhm.
with them, and because there was an archery season there and a rifle season, and usually most times, it'd be a rifle kill if we did a kill up there.
Hmm.
And when we came here, it was uh, I'd go to this place called Jeffrey Archer, bought my step up compound bow, and but then the kids came along, and I really didn't. When I took the time to hunt, I'd rifle hunt, going Fort Jackson rifle hunt, and it's probably been in the last 10 years. When I got Miller Swamp is when I really heavily got back into bow hunting, and
Yeah.
I killed a nice little 8 point last year. I got a Matthews V3 and did Ohio trip last year, West Virginia trip last year.
Nice.
Seen a lot of deer, and didn't kill anything. The older I get, more of a watcher. I
Hmm.
just like to see them.
Mhm.
If the opportunity for a really, really, really nice one gives itself, I will take a shot. I practice a lot, so but I just enjoy being outdoors. Fish in the off season of hunting, like the catfish. So try
Oh,
to keep it going. Something every year. We put in for gator tags every year. We got gators the last 2 years.
nice.
So
Nice. Yeah, South Carolina is underrated for like the alligators because I remember even when I used to take my son, this was probably about 10 years ago now, down in Florence. And I would
yeah,
always take him like to a baseball camp every year down there. And some of the kids, like the dads and stuff, they'd be around and they talking and showing pictures, and they would get huge 12, 13-foot alligators out of the PD River.
yeah. There's big gators down here.
It's like, that is, and growing up, like I said, I grew up in the country. Like I grew up in a dirt road. Like nobody in my family really hunted. Like, we fished a little bit. Like my great aunt used to take us kids fishing, but I didn't get into like hardcore, like really hunting until, like I was almost 38. And to hear about like big alligators, one of those things like it's like it's there, but because you just not into it or you don't know
Mhm.
anybody that's talking about it, like to hear stories, especially like at that time, the swamp people was a big phenomenon, like with all the gator hunting in Louisiana. And then to hear about people pulling in 12 and 13-foot alligators out of the PD River, like in Florence County, like right around where I grew up. Like it was just amazing, like to hear about it. So you drew a gator tag for this season coming up?
No, I did not.
Dang it.
It got to the point now, when I first implemented the season, you could probably get about every 3 years.
Okay.
And now it's about every 4 to 5 years before you can get pulled again. But we
Mm.
have family members. My brother got pulled last year, so we took him,
Okay.
and he got a gator because I got an old pontoon I set up for it. And then the year before that, I pulled a tag, and my son pulled a tag, but we never got to feel his. But we filled mine, and then my wife puts in for him, all our other buddies. So it's kind of a dry year. Nobody got pulled this year. We were figuring at least we'd always have one
Hmm.
tag to go, every year. So
And you
kind of
think
crazy.
that with it starting to like space out in between the years of pulling, you think that's just because of the popularity, just like more people putting in for them, or do you think it's just random, or what?
Just the popularity.
Yeah.
Yeah, more and more people put in for them, and they keep the tag quota at the same. I got 4 regions here in South Carolina, and
Hmm.
there's 400 gators allowed in each region. I think is the way, or 300 in each region. And guys pull them sometimes, and they can't hunt, so they don't buy the tag because you get pulled in the lottery. And once you're pulled in the lottery, it's $10 to put in for the lottery. And then if you decide you're gonna pursue it, then it's $100 for the tag. And then some guys put in for it every year, get drawn, and don't even buy the tag. So that's
Wow.
just a one wasted on this. Yeah, so it is what it is. But
Wow.
JP,
Go ahead,
didn't
Anthony.
didn't somebody say they saw a bear or something out there one time, or were they just joking around?
no, there's bear up through there. Sure is.
Man, I was just like, really? I just
Yeah.
hope I don't see the bear while I'm out here.
Yeah, there's been bears on Fort Jackson. There's bears around, I just live right across the road from Fort Jackson, basically on the backside. We had a bear running around the lake here for a couple of years. I ain't seen him the last couple of years, but he was running here. And then one was hit on I-20 and 601 about 5, 6, 7, 8 years ago, something like that,
Wow.
Huh.
on the off ramp.
But there's not a black bear season in South Carolina, right?
There is. There's For the longest time it was just in the mountains of South Carolina, like the Coney Pickens and all
Yep.
that.
Yep.
But the population on the intercoastal waterway is blown out. There's always been bears there, and it's blown up. And I think they're allowing them to hunt them there too. And of course, the bears on the intercoastal waterway are bigger.
Wow. So and then you can do like they do. Like I went on a bear hunt last year up in Maine, and same thing. Like didn't get one. Don't think we didn't even see one. Um, but like they run the baits and the bait stands and stuff like that. Can you like it's the same process in South Carolina or
I have never hunted them here, but I don't think you can bait them. You might be allowed to run dogs on them, though, at least up
yeah,
in the upstate. But
yeah,
I don't know about baiting them. But if you got piles out hunting deer, and a bear comes up and you hunt a bear, I guess you can bait them.
yeah, yeah. No, I know you could run the same thing in Maine too. You can run dog. They have a separate season just for the dogs, and then they have a separate season where you can like run like the bait barrels and whatnot. Um the Gators, just going back to that real quick, because that is I don't know why I'm just really fascinated by that. Like I've thought about it doing it, and every time I set my mind to like, okay, I'm gonna put in for a tag, I kind of just back out of it just for whatever reason. Um, so two questions. One, what is the method as far as like hunting? Because everybody, for better or worse, since swamp people came out, everybody's reference for hunting alligators is like, oh, chickens and like these big test hooks and stuff. But if you really look at it, like that's almost like an anomaly. Like it's a lot of places you can't even do that. You got to do like harpoon or stuff like that. So two questions. One, how do you hunt them in South Carolina? Two, what's the biggest one yourself personally that you ever got?
Okay. My brother's last year was our biggest. It was 8.6.
Wow.
Now
Okay.
there's a place called Cordray's where took it to get it processed,
Hmm.
and he was saying for a DIY hunters, he said that was a really nice. I had a really big head on it. It was and he said that's a big gator for a DIY guys. He said now when you see a lot of these 12 and 11 and 10 footers coming in, that's usually guides.
Okay.
These guys spend a lot of time out there, know where the big gators are,
Yep.
do this a lot. If you there's some Facebook pages like South Carolina Gator Hunters and all that you go to follow, and you just see these guys. I mean, they're bringing in 12-footers just continuously, and 11-footers and big 10-footers, and it's like wow. And then so the 8.5-footer last year was our biggest, but I'll tell you, it was a fight.
I was about to say, because even like, again, people's frame of reference, if you don't really know, it's just like, oh, 12, 13, 14, some 15 foot, like whatever. Like, and then you hear like 5 foot, 8 foot, like whatever. People don't realize even a 5 foot gator will mess you up really bad. An
Yeah.
8 foot gator is
Yeah.
taller than the average human. Like,
I
so
mean,
it's
yeah.
not.
Right, and we fought it for I'd say about 2 hours. Now we snatch hooked it with a rod and reel.
2 hours? That thing put up a fight for 2 hours?
It laid on the bottom and held my pontoon out in the river for 2 hours like an anchor. And then I have one of those ropes with the big snatch hook on it, treble hook, and we
Yeah.
just kept throwing it until we finally get into him with that, and then got another rod in him. And then probably the last 30 minutes was getting up near the boat.
Yeah.
Because in South Carolina, like you said, you can harpoon them, shoot them with a bow with one of those fishing arrows,
Hmm.
and rod and reel, harpoon, with this, a rope on it.
Yeah.
And then once you get them, you can't just shoot them with a rifle. You're not allowed to use a rifle here in South Carolina. So you got to get him under control. He has to be under control beside the boat, and then you could shoot him in the head with a pistol
Hmm.
or a bang stick.
Okay. Yeah.
And so I purchased a bang stick a couple years ago, and works well. We've only ever killed two gators. That was the last 2 years in a row. It'd be 3 years. We'd go 3 years, and
Hmm.
we'd snatch into some, and they broke my rod one year. Um, or break the crossbow line off and lose them that way. But the last 2 years, we've been successful, and that's why it was kind of like, we got a rhythm now. We've figured out our mistakes over
Yeah.
the years, and and I think the year before was about 7 foot. This one was 8.5. So now we've chased down some big ones, and they're a lot smarter. And we've seen some giants down there. The last 2 years, we pulled for the Ashapoo area down there, the lower country.
Hmm.
So we wanted the, Ashapoo and the our Edisto side and the Combahee.
Okay. Yep.
We see, and then my son, he pulled for Upper Santee and hunted. And we see a lot of gators in the Upper Santee, put in Pax Landing or something like that. You go out there at night, you don't realize you go out there during the day and fish and all that. But you go at night and take a spotlight and shine across there. It's amazing how many gators are actually down there.
Wow. Just laying on the bank, or you just see them swimming?
Yeah, just out in the water.
Yeah.
They'll be swimming or just kind of floating there. So
Wow. That, like I said, when I listen to people talk about it, I get kind of excited. It's like, okay, like I want to try it, but then like you said, you getting down there and then they fight and they put up a fight in like 2 hours for an 8 footer. You can only imagine like how long it would take or could take, I should say, for anything larger than that. That man,
yeah,
that's amazing. And then the bang stick is one, it's almost like a muzzleloader, right? It's like one shot, right? That's all.
yeah, just one shot, poke at it, and then you got to
Yeah.
reload it and try again.
Wow.
You talk about the most adventurous man in the world.
Uh, I'm getting older. I'm real cautious these days. Everything always hurts, right?
Now, do you, because it's a waterway and, like it's basically a public area or whatnot, do you run cameras like off the bank? So you just kind of just go out there and just trolling, you just know where to go, like that kind of thing?
Yeah, we know. We'll take the boats out a few weeks before season and kind of
Mhm.
look and see where we see gators and maybe some slides. Because at the Santee, they're everywhere.
Yeah.
So you can almost go out and then you get close, you can kind of eye it up, tell between their eyes and their snout if they're big or not with the spotlight.
Right.
Just
Yeah.
keep on working it. because we usually go out there about 2 hours before dark and stay out to 3 or 4 or 5 in the morning, sometimes all night. And because we just hunt them all night. It's what we do.
Yeah.
A lot easier.
Wow.
Hmm. Hey,
Yeah.
conditions. Hey, JP, what he do is he'll throw you into the fire, man. I see why he does that now.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that's kind of the best way to learn, right? Like you ain't no net, like you sink or swim, and because that wasn't it. You was telling me like one of the hogs that you shot, you couldn't find, and JP was all like in the brush,
Yeah.
like
So
trying
it was
like hands and knees like blood trailing.
no, it was Sydney. So
Okay.
it was a hog
City
Sydney
shot.
shot. And we were getting ready to leave, and darkness fell. But I said, "Well, man, we're still within that hour." I said, "Do you think you can see it in the scope?" She said, yeah." I said, "You think you see it in the scope?" Take a shot.
Uh,
So she shot it. I said, "I said, well, did you shoot it?" She said, "I don't know." "You think you hit it?" She said, "I don't know." I was just, oh my god. So I'm all in the edge of the woods looking. Right. I'm looking. I'm looking. I'm like, I don't see any blood. I don't see what's going on. So my first thought was like, "Don't call JP. Don't call JP. Figure this out." Then after we couldn't figure it out, so Sydney was like, maybe you should just call Mr. Miller. So I called him. He came out. He comes in, and I never forget this. City said the most classic line. So JP goes in the wood line. It's dark now. We got our lights on, and we hear is this. I smell it.
Yeah.
So City was like, City says, "You smell it? I don't smell nothing."
Yeah,
So
they have a different smell.
So he goes in there and says, "I found it." I said, "Man, you gotta be kidding me."
Yeah, we find a lot that way. And sometimes when you're hunting them, if they come in just the right or put a scent out, you can smell them coming.
Man, I'm
Yeah.
telling you, the one thing I will say, what he said, you learn a lot just being thrown out there. Because
Yeah.
I remember the first time me and Sydney went, you took us way back to that one stand in the back. And I don't know, was it 16? I can't remember. You dropped us off. You was like, there's tons of hogs coming through here. So we sat there, of course, no hogs came. So as it started getting dark, City goes, "You think he's gonna come back and get us?" I said, "Yeah, I hope so. If not, I said, it's gonna be a long walk."
And that's the thing about hogs, man, especially big hogs. Like them big boys, they don't like moving till like right after dark. They almost like big deer. They don't like moving till like after dark or like late at night or whatever. I see like a lot of people, they get them green lights like over the feeders and they like bow hunt them and sit out there like all night. I remember one year we went to when my son was younger and we went to Texas and they told us to put like a the green light like on the stabilizer of my bow because like we was
Yeah.
just sitting like in a thicket like 11, 12 o'clock at night just listening waiting for hogs to come through or whatever. It's exciting, but it's definitely different. It ain't like deer at all.
No, no, they can be aggressive sometimes. And I had one charge, and if I didn't take my pistol out and shoot, I was actually sitting in my Honda at night coming out of the stand and walked to my Honda and started driving out of the club. And she just come. I was sitting there and I was like, "There's something in the road." And I look and there's a bunch of little piglets. I mean, really young.
Hmm.
And I took my flashlight out and I shined on them. They run right over there and sat and lay down right beside me on the Honda, beside my Honda, side by side.
Hmm.
I'm like, what are they doing? And then it sounded like a freight train coming out of the clear cut. And I'm like, uh oh. And I look up and she hit probably about 40 yards in front of me and just started barreling straight to the Honda. And I mean, I was literally up out the window shooting like this and turned her at the last second. I thought she was going to bust right into the front of it and come up through the windshield, where the windshield would have been. I was like, holy
Yeah.
crap. And then the little ones went off probably 5 feet and laid back down. And I put in reverse and eased on out of there. And she come and got them. But I don't think if I was shooting, she probably have been inside that cab with me.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's what like people don't understand. Like that, hey, mothers and babies, I mean, that's a
Yeah.
universal thing. Like that ain't just humans. That's like any animal,
Yeah.
like you even if you don't think that you disturbing them or whatever, they just come in, they shoot first, ask questions later, whatever their version of shooting looks like. So,
Yeah. But it just
Now look,
surprised me all the babies ran right up there and laid right down beside me. I was like, this ain't good.
right. It's like, y'all gonna get me in trouble.
Yeah.
now I tell you, JP had an impressive setup over there. I think that maybe one or two times I saw it because you had what, like 3 lanes going out from your stand, if I remember.
Yeah, that was the one for my wife
That
Kim.
was
You
your
know,
wife.
built that box stand and it looked like wagon wheel spokes going out from it.
Uh,
And then I plant it twice a year because the deer would mow it down so fast. And
yeah, because when you were there, like I'd send a message and I'd be like, man, I'm seeing nothing. And he'd come back like, oh, I got 5 on the left lane, 4 the one in front of me, 3 to the right. I was like, I can't even get one. I'm seeing up with squirrels.
it was like in the hub. I mean, my wife would be sitting it and I'll be out there bow hunting somewhere in the club and she'd be like, oh, I got 3 bucks over here, well, 2 out in front of me, you know, 3 does and 2 fawns here. Da, 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 da. I'm like, well, there was swamp to one side, a clear cut over the hill, and there was a little bit of hillside, because it's mostly flat, but towards the
Mhm.
front of the club, it had a little bit of a hill that had a little bit of oaks grown on it, and it just deer were through there all the time. I mean, it was a great spot. When I take the grandkids or something, that's the place I take them just so they could see deer, and there was hogs in there too. So
Yeah, because I could tell when your feeders were empty and you hadn't been out there
yeah,
for a while. Because I would have deer over there, that primary one. And I said, JP must not
yeah,
have been out here for a while. Because we actually had deer coming over here.
yeah. I kept it baited for.
Yeah. Because I forgot, yeah, that was your wife's area. Matter of fact, I
Yeah,
remember we were all hunting one night, and I think your wife was out there. And I think you were on the other side saying, Antonio, hey, can you grab Kim on the way out? I was like,
yeah.
sure. So I remember pulling up, and she was walking out, and you could tell she kind of stopped and look was like, who? I said, Kim, was Antonio. She said, oh. I said, JP tell you I was coming.
Well,
I said,
she'd turn
man.
her phone off or she'd be on something else and wouldn't
I
answer no
said,
text. So
yeah. She was like, oh man. She said, I almost shot you.
yeah,
So, like coming from Pennsylvania, like you said, where you couldn't bait, like it's definitely heavy on the woodsmanship. And then you come down here and it's almost to the point like, and don't get me wrong, trust me, I know, and I'm sure you do too, know so many hunters who can hunt and kill every year without baiting,
yes.
just because their woodsmanship is just so impeccable. Do you have like a preference? Do you like, does it matter? Like, did you find yourself like, okay, if I don't bait because my neighbor's baiting, like that kind of thing. Like what was your thoughts and your thought process on that?
Uh, I guess as you get older,
Hmm.
as I got older, my process has changed. Like I said, when I was younger and got down here and things were different, I joined the hunt club and I mostly sat over bait
Yep.
most of the time or just food plots. As I got older and got back into my bow hunting, if if I was hunting for the pigs, I always baited
Right.
because that's about the only way you're going to get them in on you. For the deer, the bait was already out there. A lot of times see some, but I tell you, like my biggest deer I ever killed, was on Fort Jackson. That's all that big one I told you about. It was just always, you know, I kept trying to pattern, and finally just got lucky one morning, and he was chasing does, and other bucks were fighting with him and all that, and got to
Mm.
witness that before I took him. And last year, the 8 point I killed, I wasn't baiting because it was I like to put over white oaks
Yep.
and
Okay.
just sit those with the bow stands and on ridge lines, and you know, just hopefully you get a shot. Sometimes I'll throw a little corn out there.
Mm-hmm.
Not always, because I'm tired of carrying some corn bags as you get older. Yeah. I
Right.
think when I first started, when I was at the my first hunt club, we were buying corn by 100-pound sacks and carrying them in.
Jeez.
You get a lot cheaper, and
Yeah, yeah, yep.
yep. So yeah, it ain't happening no more. But like like one of the tricks I try to tell Antonio when he goes into your stand, like at Miller Swamp,
Mm,
you might have a bait pile there and everything, but carry in 10 ears of corn in a grocery bag,
yep.
because the hogs would wear your area out so fast. And
Right.
just don't go out there and dump them, but kind of stop short and just give them a couple tosses. Just if the
Yep.
hogs come by, at least stop them so you can get a shot.
Yep. Yep. Like
Yeah,
it's funny you mentioned that because like with the 100-pound bags, shoot, there are times like even with 50-pound bags, like
yeah,
I don't even feel like being bothered. And then like you can go to Walmart and they got like these 30-pounders, and the
yes,
30-pounders are lifesavers. Like I would use those, especially if I'm doing a day of kind of thing. Usually I try to go in and try to set the area like a day or two before, just like to get out of there, let the deer kind of get used to it or whatever. But if I'm doing like a quick like hunt or whatever, like that 30-pounder, and just take it in and then like you said, spread it out.
yeah,
Um, but it's funny, like you were saying about like getting older and your process is changing. Like this year, like I want to do more like hunting on the ground, like just
yeah,
because I'm tired of the whole tree stand, the climber thing. Like most of the time, I hunt from blinds anyway. But like with the phenomenon of saddle hunting and all like that, I'm just like, well, I'm not going to do that. But you can be mobile, if you find like a good trail or find like a good area like on the ground. So I'm trying to, like I was saying last week, excuse me, like trying to get away from like the bait like a little bit and just trying to hunt more sign and trails and stuff. But it's hard because like you go out there a couple of times and you don't see anything, and in your back of your mind it's just like, okay, I can go sit this pile or I can go sit this trail
yeah,
with this pile on it and probably have like success, whatever that success is defined for that person.
yeah. It's just, any way doesn't matter to me. I've been on dog hunts with people when they chasing the dogs. I don't have a problem. Anybody the way anyhow they want to hunt it, that's fine with me. And sometimes I'll sit over a bait pile. I think I take a little more pride in the deer that I've like that one I killed on Fort Jackson's like
Hmm.
late this year. When I'm you know finding areas I know the bucks are running, and I set up on oaks or something, and you know just old hunting skills instead of sitting over a bait.
Yep.
Locating them, but it's still all hunting. Supporting anyway. I still do it all different ways.
Yep.
So
That was one of the things that we was talking about, like one of our episodes a few weeks back was just like, I don't care how you do it. Like it's all
yeah,
a tool. Like it's
yeah,
all like when people start acting like, okay, well, one way is better or you less of a
oh yeah,
hunter for doing it this way or whatnot. Like I just wish like it's so funny, like when I see people going back and forth on social media. Like I just wish people would understand that baiting and food plots are really the same thing. It's a food source, but people will
exactly.
get in and argue each other down over something so silly.
Oh yeah. I mean, the way hunting was under fire here and there, all hunters should stick together. Bottom
Right,
line,
right.
everybody
Absolutely.
has their own way of doing things, and got to respect each other for that.
Yep, absolutely. For you get no arguments from us about that. So you said like fishing, like doing like in the off season and stuff, and
Yeah.
and catfishing. I remember you mentioned that. Are you a rod and reel guy with the catfish? Do you like to get down and noodle, like bare hand?
Yeah, no, it's all rod, and
Right.
I'm not noodling, especially in these places down here.
Two
Hey,
ain't
hey,
noodling.
I don't know if
No.
Antonio told you, I live on a swamp lake. It's about 180 acres.
Okay.
It's an old pilot dam the guy had built, I think, in the late 20s, early 30s, for a bigger lake here. Lake
Mm-hmm.
Murray.
Yep. Feed Lake
We live
Murray.
on the pilot dam lake.
Okay.
It's called the Murray Pond, and you know, there's gators in it. No fish. stump. I mean, the guy, when he first built it, they used it for his hunt club. This is all hunting around here, and
Okay.
they duck hunted. It was their duck hunting pond. There's gators in it. There's just wildlife all the way around here.
Yeah.
And just what I see here, and it's pretty much a lot of houses around it now. I mean, I had one dog killed by a rattlesnake,
Mm.
had another one hit by a rattlesnake. There's cottonmouths, there's copperheads. Now, my wife, she was born in West Virginia. None of this stuff scares her. I mean, I remember she yelled to me one day on the front porch. She goes, "Hey, come out here, look at this." There's a bunch of baby copperheads out on the front porch, and she's picking them up, putting them in a bucket. And I'm like, "What are you doing?" She goes, "Oh, these baby copperheads are laying on my porch." And I'm like, "And you're picking them up?"
Yeah.
Yeah,
No.
we got them all here, so
Yeah. No, Antonio knows he gives me grief, but he knows if you mention the word snake, I am out. Because like I said, I grew up in the country in South Carolina, and my dad was terrified of snakes, and I think I pretty much inherited that because I've watched like literally he will go next door and go get the neighbor to come kill like a
the
a,
snake.
a, a water moccasin or whatever, like that bedded up against the air conditioner or whatever. Like vividly, I can remember that as a kid, and even out like hunting. Nope. Leave me out of it. I'm not picking nothing up. The only thing, like, even if I see a black snake, I'll leave it alone. But even still, it makes my skin crawl, especially when they just moving around and all. No, no, thank you.
I'm with you,
Yeah,
Adam. I don't like no
I give them
snakes
the
either.
respect.
And talking about smelling stuff, it was funny because the hunt club that I was here in Georgia, the manager, he would like we'd be walking through the woods like just scouting or whatever, and he'd be like, okay, like you go into an area like in the timber and with the canopy and stuff, but you see like a little sunlight, you just be like, all right, be careful because there's sunlight, so that's where they probably go. Like just trying to get that heat or whatever. Or we'll be walking through an area and he'll slow down and I'll be like, "What's wrong?" He's like, "I smell like I smell something. One of them nearby, like one." And I'm just like, Antonio, I'm like, "How do you smell a snake? Like, how do you smell like a rattlesnake or a cottonmouth
Yeah,
or whatever?" But he, like, literally, like, we just be like barreling through the woods or whatever on the trail, just like kind of looking for sun or whatever. And he would literally stop in his tracks and I'm just like, "What?" It's like I smell it, and I'm just like, okay, like, do we need to leave? Because
yeah,
I know.
yeah. Miller Swamp had a lot of rattlesnakes on it, and cottonmouths where the swamps were. There was a
Yeah.
lot. We've seen some big ones. I mean, bigger than I thought they could get.
Yeah. I walked up on the big one out there one time, and I still got a picture, a video of that thing. I think he called it a cane break
Yeah,
or
the
something
cane
like that.
breaks.
Yeah, I was out there. I left work one day, and normally I have my snake boots, but I left work and I said, "Let me rush out of here, throw this corn out." And for some reason, I just went and walking around just kind of see what's
Yeah,
going on. And as I was walking back, something told me to look down. And as I looked down, I said, "Oh my God!" So I stepped back, and as I stepped back, I guess he must have since I was there, and this thing crawled off. And I promise you, it had been like 6 feet. I
yeah,
know it was. So I'm walking off, getting ready to go back to my truck, and all of a sudden, this guy pops out of nowhere. I was like, "Where the hell you come from?" He said, "Hey, what's going on, man?" He said, "I'm with the, I think he's with the timber,
yeah,
somebody." He was marking trees, I think. And I said, "Hey," I said, "be careful. There's a big rattlesnake just went by." So he said, "Well, where'd it go?" I said, "Well, I don't know. I'm going in the opposite direction." I
yeah,
said, but it went that way. So he goes off looking for it. So the next thing I know, I hear in the fake in the woods, like, "I found it. I got him." I'm like, "Well, what do you mean you got him?" So now I'm curious. I'm gonna walk over there. So JP, remember they used to walk around with that stick? They
yeah,
had like the metal. So I go over there and he's got this thing on the end of the stick holding it up. I said, "Well, how'd you kill it?" He said, "I just popped him on the head, killed him."
yeah. Yeah, a lot of the guys kill. I try not to kill them because DNR said that their numbers are going down. They asked us not to do it, but I mean, now if he's posing me a threat, I'll kill him.
Yeah, that
Right.
thing, he was huge. Because
Yeah,
I'm gonna tell you, I'm like Adam, I don't like snakes. And I don't know if you remember that night when Mike Kim killed that deer,
Yeah.
and that deer was in all that thick stuff. So to this day, and I need you to tell me, man, because I sat and I looked out there for hours. I could not find nothing. And Adam, I kid you not, he comes out there 5 minutes, and next thing I know, he's like, I found blood. And I'm like, where? So he shows me, and it's literally like this little speck of freaking blood. I was like, dude, what are you, the body, man?
Yeah.
So we get this speck of blood. I'm like, okay. So he says, it's another speck of blood. I was like, I promise you, I've probably been walking over this blood the whole time. So we get to the edge, and this deer was still alive after probably like 2 hours.
Hmm.
So JP just jumps in the bushes, right? So now my kid's looking at me like, you gonna jump in too? So I was like, oh my God. So I jumped in. There was at one point, we were on our hands and knees in the bushes trying to track this deer. And the whole time I was like, please don't find a snake. Please don't find a snake. Just please don't find a snake. So finally I hear this up in the bushes like, oh, I got him. I got him. And he was like, why are you not dead yet? I'm saying like, JP, who are you talking to? So finally flushed him out. He said, yeah, he's pretty much done. We need to go ahead and put him down. I think we didn't get home until about 2 o'clock that morning. Because
Wow.
Kim was at the point, she was like, just leave him there. I don't even care
Yeah.
anymore.
Yeah, that man, listen, tracking deer in the dark, like in the winter, and even here, like, because we don't get, even though it gets cold, don't get me wrong, it definitely gets cold, but we
Yeah.
don't get like the bitter cold like the Pennsylvanias or where like I used to live, like in Wisconsin and stuff like that. Like you don't get like that bitter cold, but like tracking deer, especially in the early season, and just they lay down in a thicket. You don't know if they lay down in an ant bed. You don't know if
Yeah.
you gonna pull it, trying to pull it out, and it's a snake or something up underneath. It's an adventure, and like yeah, like you just have to be really careful. And what I've found when I've been out and in a hurry, that's usually when I ended up like stumbling across something. Like if you're meticulous and you're taking your time or
Yeah.
whatever, but like every time it's been like, oh, I'm just like just like you said, I'm gonna run out here, I'm just gonna throw some corn down, come back, get on ATV, zoom into the area, drop corn. Next thing you know, you look around, there's a snake up under the wheel, and you just like,
Yeah.
where did you come from? Because you just like out there just so fast and not paying attention. And I still to this day do not understand people that go out in Georgia and South Carolina and some of these other places in the Southeast in the summertime with a t-shirt, shorts, Crocs, and go hang stands and set blinds. God love you. Because even in my backyard shooting my bow, like there are times like if I lose an arrow like in the thickets or whatever, if I'm gonna go get it, I go back in the house, I put on long pants, I put on my snake boots because you just
Yeah.
do not know.
No. I think I told Antonio when he joined the club, I said, whatever you do, always have your snake boots on,
Yeah.
just in case. I mean,
Yep.
we've killed them at the clubhouse. Inside the clubhouse, we've killed
See?
them.
Yeah, I had to get some. I first got out there with them little Academy rubber rain boots. He was
Yeah.
like, "Nah, buddy, you need some snake boots."
Oh, oh man, showed up with some galoshes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Said,
I was
yeah, that
walking in
ain't
the
gonna
rain.
work.
That's funny. Yeah, it's funny because I bought some late season last year for here, just like some rubber boots or whatever, and like just buying them like real quick. And when I went back and I looked at them, I was just like, these things, they ain't got no steel toe. They ain't got no kind of protection. And of course, like I had already been out like in the water and stuff. Like I said, it was late season in the cold or whatever. I was just more so looking at insulation and not
Yeah.
even paying attention to like the snake protection or whatever. And I'm just like, well, I guess I'll just have to buy me another pair of snake protection because like I said, yeah, you can't be too careful at all. So um So I guess like, and so you got another question? Because I got like a couple more, and then we can start bringing this thing home.
I got one.
Mhm.
JP,
Yes,
you
sir.
ever thought about trying to get another hunt club together?
Um, I don't know. I haven't thought about it because I joined. A guy has one up there, and you know where Blythewood is
Mm-hmm.
area. You know, I hunted Fort Jackson that first year. We didn't have it, and maybe the
Mm-hmm.
second. And he told me I can come in and hunt with him. There's
Okay.
a couple hundred acres up there, you know, and I just it's been nice not running one because you know I ran that jump and run for good lord 11 years. Then they offered me the Miller Swamp one, and I ran it for however long that was. And because one thing about running a hunt club, you know, you're always chasing people down for their dues. You know, everybody um, you know looks to you to make sure it's going properly and all that. You know, and then dealing with the, you know, we always had some. What's the word I'm looking for? uh, trying times with some of the neighboring landowners
Mm.
Yeah.
Hmm.
that didn't like that there was a club there.
Okay.
I think you remember that, Antonio.
Yeah.
Some people think they own the whole swamp from one town to the next, and it was like, you know, we had one guy giving one of our members a hard time because he was down in our swamp shooting ducks. When they come walking out, he's waiting out by the car and he goes, "You're shooting my ducks. You're shooting my ducks." You know, I'm calling DNR. We're like, "Well, go ahead. You know, we're on our property shooting ducks.
Right.
How's that your ducks?" You know, and there's always deal stuff with like that. You know, I don't miss them days.
It's always funny when people would be like, "Oh, you shooting my deer or you
Yeah.
baiting my deer," and this is like, on you mean on my property, or even worse when you're on public land,
Oh
like
yeah.
when you hunting my spot, I hunted this spot for da 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 da, and it's just like public for everybody.
Exactly. First thing I always
It's a
looked at it. If
free
I went
for
into a
all.
spot I had scouted out and there was someone there, I'll just keep on going.
Yep.
But
Yeah.
I've been sitting there in a spot and have a guy come and climb 4 trees down from me. And I'll be like, okay.
Then, so like, how did you get into like running the hunt clubs? Like, were you just kind of like elected, or people just looked at you because of just like leadership skill? Like, how did it fall into your lap?
Well, the first one was back in 99, maybe 2000. Um, property, we actually seen an ad say, "Hey, we need members out at this hunt club," and the guy was starting to run it. You know, got a hold of the 2,000 acres here at the Jump and Run, which surrounds the house I live in now, actually. And we all went out there and talked to him. He goes, "If we all can pull money together, we can get this land." You know, back then it was really cheap,
Hmm.
and so we did. And then well, he kept joining more people and joining more people, and it was like the lease for the 2,000 acres was like $11,000. Well, he was charging like $500 a person, and he took on so many people. I think it was like made like $30,000, but there was nothing going into the club. And next you know, he's in Alaska.
Hmm.
He paid the lease, then he
Wow.
ran with the other 20 some thousand dollars. And $20,000 almost whatever he had. I mean, it was ungodly. 60 some people were showing up to hunt this place.
Wow.
Goodness.
It was just nuts. And so we all got together and we said, well, we'll elect this guy. You know, he's an older guy, you know, the next year. And well, you know, we all paid and got it going. And, you know, we elected him as president. We elected a vice president, a secretary treasurer, no type deal. And well, this guy got funny. He's like, hey, no one can hunt this piece over here. No one can hunt that and do this and that. And it's like, wait a minute, you know, we're all paying the same amount. We got these rules. What are you doing? Well, you know, one day me and my buddy went over there and looked. All he was bringing all of his work buddies over there to hunt for free.
Hmm.
Like, oh, here we go again. So we get rid of him. We talked to and it was Preston. If you remember Preston, all the way back then, this like 10 years before we got Miller Swamp. And he goes, man, if we have to do this one more time, we're just going to give it to someone else. And the guys were like, Jay, you try it once. I said, okay, I'll try it. And we put the rules down and say, that's it. You know, if someone goes and puts a stand up, 200-yard radius, no one can hunt. we all voted on every role on the club. We all voted on,
Mhm.
and just kind of let it ride. The headache was always chasing everybody down for their due money
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
new members. When one would drop out and all that, or the occasional, hey, so and so. I think he was 175 yards from my stand today. I don't understand. It's 200-yard buffer. Well, I said maybe he just got lost, but just stuff like that. And
Yeah.
then they kept voting me back in. I said, yeah, I'll do it again, and because we said we'd vote every 2 years. And then Preston, he approached me and said, hey, listen, we just had this piece of property, Miller Swamp Punk Club, come open. It's like August, season starts September 1st there or something back then.
Mm-hmm.
And said, do you think you can give it a try to get it going? I said, I'll try, and I just got jump and run going good for that year. And so I tried, and, we pulled enough people together. We got it going. And then the next year I tried running 2 clubs,
Oof.
both of them. And I said, oh man, this ain't happening. And I said, I want to choose, and I always wanted a place for pigs. So I chose Miller Swamp. Told the guys, hey, this is my last year, pick your new president, do your thing. I'm going this way. And they did. Heck, they were on the chopping block that year, not us when our club sold. And somehow their club's still there. It didn't get sold, and ours, all by surprise, sold.
Mm.
It was crazy. Yeah.
Sounds suspicious to me.
Yeah, it was. I think it was.
Next,
How big was that? How big was that Miller Swamp?
It was like 4 acres shy of 3,000 acres.
Okay, that's what I thought so. Yeah.
Yeah, it was like 29 something.
and how many of y'all were in it at the peak?
20. 20.
Wow. That's
Yeah,
still pretty good.
yeah, we were spread out pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you would have to try hard to hunt on top of each other.
Yeah, and then we had club stands where you could bring guests and drop your buddies off and stuff.
Yeah, because that side we were on, I think it was just me and you on that one side.
Yeah, we probably had 300 acres to ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
Man.
And they were all at JP's area.
Yep.
Now
I don't know how that was happening.
that day that I was out there, we cut that area so I could climb that tree, and the climber, I still think about that. Like I look at the video because I was filming that day,
Mhm.
and we had a doe come down, and it was cold. It had frost, so like you could really hear them good when they started coming. Like they was cracking like the ice and the frost and stuff, and they was coming down. It was good sized doe, and I don't know if she caught my wind or whatever, because I mean, wind and swirls, all that other stuff.
Oh,
But
yeah.
it's like she was going about her business, and she was going to a beeline to that feeder in the middle of that food plot. And all I needed her to do, she was walking the edge, and all I needed her to do was hook that left and go right to that feeder. And she stopped and she threw her head up in the air. She didn't blow, she didn't do anything. She just turned right back around and then went right back where she came from. And I was just like, God.
Yeah.
But
That's
yeah,
one thing I tell new hunters. I said, wind, scent, 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 watch the wind.
yep. Yeah, but it was just like the view from there and stuff. Like I had a nice little, it was covered. Like even like I said, being in a climber, like I had a nice shot. All thing I needed her to do was hang that left. But yeah, that was a beautiful, beautiful spot that y'all had. And I don't think we covered this in the beginning, but how did y'all link up? Like Antonio, how did you find JP?
So his daughter worked at the trophy shop on
Mhm.
Fort Jackson.
Okay.
And I was in there. I said, hey, I'm just getting into hunting. And we just talked one day. She says, yeah, my dad has a hunt club down there off of 601. And I was like, really? I said, well, how hard is to get into it? She was like, I'll let him know. I talked to him. He'll be in touch with you. So I was like, oh, man, please let me. So JP actually called me. I was leaving Sportsman's Warehouse that day. And he called me, said, hey, how you doing? JP Miller, my daughter Samantha. Hey, if you want to come on out, come check us out. You want to come guest hunt or something? I was like, cool, I might be in there. So finally, I went out, and I think that first time, matter of fact, he took me on the side by side, and we just
Yeah.
rode around. And I
Yeah.
was just like, man, I said, this is a lot of land out here. And you know, Adam, remember in Bad Boys when I finally said, yeah, I talked to Kim. I said, I'm gonna get signed up, and I was just like, you know what? This just got real.
Yeah.
Yup. Yup.
Yep. And I got out there, and I think the first time, and I think me and Cindy guest hunted, and I think the first time when I actually hunted by myself, and to this day, I still think that was an initiation thing, but JP just don't want to own up to it. So he put me in a stand, and I got in the stand. He said, "Yeah, this is a great stand. You know, hogs come through here all the time." He said, "I'm telling you, it's going to be a good one." So I get in the stand, and the stand smelled like, I mean, pure D, you know what. And I'm just like, oh my God. I'm just like, this can't be hunting. So I'm sitting there, I'm just like, oh, you know, I'm just so I'm sitting there, and all of a sudden I see this like buzzard, vulture. I don't know what you
Oh yeah.
called it. And I see this thing like coming towards me.
Mm.
And he keeps coming closer and closer. I'm like, I think he's about to come in this stand. And sure enough, he gets up there. So I got a rifle. So instead of shooting this bird, I'm swinging the rifle, trying to freaking get this bird out of here. So finally, I get down. I said, JP, I think this bird must have a nest or something.
Hey, didn't we find eggs under the chair or something?
So then we look later, it's like a nest with eggs under it.
Yeah. I didn't realize the vultures had taken it over.
It's hilarious. So you ended up in the stand with a buzzard nest.
Yeah.
Yes.
You know, that stand was in such a good place because a lot of people would hunt that, kill plenty of big deer and hogs on it. That we took a tractor and pushed that stand down and we built a whole new one in there because that was, you remember, that was a nice spot.
Yeah.
Yeah, we ended up doing that. I was like, what are you talking about? Buzzards coming out.
Man.
Was that tower stand, the old tower stand that you had to put like burlap and stuff on?
This
The
one, I don't think we would ever went to that one because that was
okay,
deep. That was deep in the club.
okay,
Now the primary one is one I had to go in there and put burlap and all that
Yeah.
stuff on.
yeah, that was the one that was overlooking the food plot.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Okay,
that was Kim and Sydney's spot because I always went down and bow hunted.
yeah, yeah, because you the one that got me in on the baronet blinds where you could just stand up and like have just like all that extra room
Mhm.
and whatnot. So man, so JP, what are you looking forward to this season? Like, what do you got going on this season? Like, you got any hunts planned? Like, you got anything coming up this upcoming season?
Me and my brother are actually talking about um, going up to Outer Banks, North Carolina, and do a duck hunt together.
Okay,
And then I may go to West Virginia if I get a chance. We got some family that has a farm up there, and
okay,
he usually
yep,
invites me up every year and go up the bow hunt. And really nice deer up there. I mean, it's right there on the what do you want to call that? The little piece that runs up between Ohio and Pennsylvania. Yeah,
okay,
right there. I think it's called Brooke County.
okay,
So you know, he has a couple 100 acre farm there. He always invites me up to. Me and him are really tight. You know, his wife and my wife are cousins,
okay, nice.
and yeah, it's always been really great. You know, and then the other thing is just a couple hunt clubs in here. I get to hunt now. My buddy has the one I was telling about that got me to hunt in wild, and he has two of them, so he lets me hunt with him on both of them.
Oh wow, okay, that's
Yeah, they're
nice.
both a couple 100 acres. One's up in Flat Rock, up in Camden area, and the other one's near Blythewood. And you know, just nice places to go sit and just watch deer. And so I just enjoy that now.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I remember you said earlier, like, and that's the point that, hopefully I can continue to keep hunting. Maybe I'll get to that point where it's just
Yeah,
like, all right, you might take one or one real nice one or whatever, but I love deer meat at this point.
yeah,
So, and I love shooting my bow, and there is nothing like just watching an arrow disappear behind their shoulders. So it's I do not discriminate. Like,
No, I mean it's I've enjoyed it for all these years since before I was even 12. It's just
mhm.
couldn't do it till I was 12, but still love it. Still look forward to it. Get excited. Took my kids. Always hunting. Now I got grandkids I take with me. So
That's what it's all about there.
yeah,
Keeping it going, spreading it, and taking
yeah,
and spreading like the generations and keeping them, into it and whatnot. So that's amazing.
yeah.
Yeah,
So,
I tell you, I definitely, JP, I appreciate a lot of stuff you did for the family, especially getting us out there hunting, all the times coming out, helping us track, telling us what to do, how to find the animal, like a lot of stuff like Antonio, look here, the animal might have went this way, and just showing a lot of, I guess, patience. That's the big thing, and that's something I'm trying to do better. Patience. So I said when I started bringing new people in, I thought about how you helped us. I'm trying to make sure I do the same way because hunting is not something you just jump into and
nope.
you know what you're doing. And I'm gonna tell you, my family knows this is one thing I tell them. When people do something for you, you always show appreciation and you say thank you. And I just want to thank you for all the times you came out there and helped us and kind of got
Oh,
us
no
on
problem.
track.
Enjoyed it. Enjoyed meeting your family too. Yeah, we're both married to Kim's.
Yeah.
How about the irony in that?
Yeah, I'm telling you.
Oh man. Well, JP, thank you for joining the Bryant Land Show. Thank you for taking the time. Feel free to come back anytime, but we really, really appreciate you coming through and just make sure everyone you continue to like, subscribe, share these podcasts. We really enjoy doing them, and we would love for you to continue to share them with as many people as possible. Don't limit yourself. Share them with everybody. So, thank
I'm
you.
toast.
Hey, I got my water. That's the only thing I can do.
Hey,
Same here.
to the man, the myth, the legend.
Antonio. Thank you guys. I enjoyed it.
Thank you, and we'll see y'all on the next one.